You are Locked On Pistons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That was a disgusting act. What an embarrassing loss for the Detroit Pistons to the lowly Utah Jazz. No notes tonight. We're just going to discuss what happened. It was an ugly loss. It was a chippy game. And the Detroit Pistons have a major, major problem. And we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. Spoiler, a lot more duds than studs tonight. But welcome into a live Locked On Pistons postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, the Detroit Pistons flagship radio station, now with Locked On Sports Detroit, and fired up to be with you. Not so much fired up about the outcome. We'll get into all that. But don't forget, your favorite podcast now has a daily newsletter. That's right. Introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. Better to read about the Detroit Pistons than have it to watch them like we did tonight. So all you have to do is sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. And good news, you can get it for other teams too. If you don't want to read about the Detroit Pistons, I certainly wouldn't blame you there. But how about a huge shout out for today's presenting sponsor, making the Pistons Postcast show possible. Give it up for FanDuel. It's the only exciting thing we have to talk about tonight. That's FanDuel. Right now, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. If you win that first $5 bet, and let me tell you, you got a better chance of winning than the Detroit Pistons do. You will, that's right, get $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. I'm fired up tonight, and I'm going to try not to scream. I'm going to try to remain calm, but 48-19. 48-19. 48-19. How many times do I have to say it before it truly sinks in that the Detroit Pistons let the 5-50 Utah Jazz, all right, I think they were 5-20 coming in, now 6-20, the lowly Utah Jazz waltz on into Little Caesars Arena and outscore the Detroit Pistons 48-19. I'm terrible with math. But, I mean, again, it doesn't take a mathematician to know they were 2 points away from being on pace to score 200 points in a basketball game. Obviously, they didn't, and the Pistons started to come back. But you spot any team. You spot a third-grade pickup basketball team, a community center basketball team, that many points in the opening frame. You're not going to win a lot of games. I don't understand how that happens. Somebody smarter than me in the comments, please let me know how the Detroit Pistons can come out so flat and let the Utah Jazz outscore them 48-19. I know they were on fire from three-point land. I think they were 9 of 11 in the opening quarter, and the Detroit Pistons were 1 of 8 from the long line in that opening frame. Sure. But there's more to just the three-point shot, and I know that's a huge portion of what the NBA has become, and all you have to do is look at any box score across the NBA on a night-in and night-out basis, and you'll know it's all about how you shoot the three. But again, I opened with the famous Joe Buck line when Randy Moss fake mooned the fans at Lambeau Field, and he just declared, that was a disgusting act. That's how I feel watching that game. And we're sorry that was on our airwaves. That's how I feel watching the Detroit Pistons. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, Jake, they started to come back. And, you know, you listen to George and Special K, and I love those guys. I really do. But, you know, the Pistons showed a lot of grit, a lot of fight. And they even, you know, they were chippy and started to come back. I hate that. I'm so done with this lackluster team and Tobias Harris. Well, more on him in a moment in our second segment. But after 3 quarters of play, I want to make sure I have this stat correctly because I made sure to take a screenshot of it because I almost couldn't believe my eyes. But after 3 quarters of play, Tobias Harris -19, Jalen Duren -18, Tim Hardaway Jr., minus 25. That's the kind of effort this Detroit Pistons team put forth after 3 quarters of play. Cade Cunningham can't do it all. He's asked to do it all. He's asked to be a savior. He's asked to go 1-on-5 all the time. Nobody else brought it tonight, and it showed. And I know they got back into the game with a surge here, a surge there, and played really well in the second quarter, and we're only, down, 11 at halftime, but 48-19. You can't spot a team that amount of and dig that deep of a hole and win any games. Even the lowly Utah Jazz. Again, we're talking about a team that is actively tanking here, but I've beat a dead horse enough. We'll get into your comments. I want to hear your comments. Are you as upset as I am over this loss? Because you can take, losing to a team that just was better than you that night. But if the team that was better than you that night is a team that's actively tanking in the lowly Utah Jazz, we've got a lot of questions. And I just don't know. And maybe, again, it's reactionary. It's an instant reaction program. That's what we love about it. And the emotions are high. But maybe I'm more upset than I should be. And it's just, tough night. But there's no excuse for how flat this Detroit Pistons team came out. Now, let's talk about some of the other things that happened in this game. You got Ron Holland throwing up the hands and pretending to fight with Jordan Clarkson, and the game gets chippy. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter, oh, Ron Holland's got that dog in him. Yeah, no, it's a fake NBA fight, like every other fight in the NBA. A bunch of fake-ass tough guys trying to, show how macho they are out there. Here's an idea. How about you go out and, add something to the stat line for the Detroit Pistons if you're Ron Holland. Do something. Push them, pull them, do something. You can't run over everybody in this league. And every time you do, okay, that's remember the Titans. I hope that didn't distract anybody. It distracted me, that's for sure. Because that being said, I don't know how else to put it other than this was an ugly, ugly loss. And there were multiple chippy parts in this game, and I just think the Pistons get, and maybe it's just Ron Holland, he's a young guy, so on and so forth, but it's a point where they're hung up on the wrong things. How about winning the dang game? And how about, playing some defense in the first quarter? Instead, you got Cade Cunningham, and outside of Cade Cunningham, honestly, was Paul Reed the best player on the floor? Probably 12 points. Plus 11. Paul Reed, this was a guy that was waived, to do some salary cap gymnastics and then back on the team. Paul Reed is our second best contributor tonight. And I know I'm shortchanging Malik Beasley. You got to add him. He had 26 points. I mean, he only shot 19 3-pointers. But besides Beasley and obviously Cade, his final stat line, really impressive with 33 points and the lone bright spot. But this, my goodness, you figure it's kind of the opposite of there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's only one way to say how bad of a loss this was to the Utah Jazz. And I apologize for how repetitive I am. But like I said in the open, no notes tonight. There's no breakdowns of what this team could do better. But Jalen Duren, Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, just not good. And they have to be better. And this team, the margin of error for this team does not allow guys to have bad nights all at the same time. And it certainly sure as heck doesn't allow for a team like the Pistons to crawl out of a first quarter deficit to the tune of 48-19. That being said, man, I hope this resonates with this Pistons team, because again, there's you're not going to win every game, of course not, but this is the definition of a bad loss. But I want to get into your comments. I want to dive more into a major problem that this Detroit Pistons team has. And I don't know if JB Bickerstaff can fix it. It might be too far, too gone. So don't go anywhere. That's coming up next. Pistons lose to the Utah Jazz 126-119. Back in a moment on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by Built. That's right. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. The Pistons could use a game changer, but Built is a game changer because thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. You can earn valuable Built points on your rental and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. How about that, sports fans? With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. I love using the points for travel. I do a lot of traveling. Those that know me, I'm heading out to San Francisco for the Lions 49ers game in a little bit. Got to see the Lions in action, and Built makes it easy to earn those points. So if you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. This episode of the Locked On Pistons is also brought to you by Game Time. It's the only ticketing app you'll need because it's the best. You got to download the Game Time app today, not just because I said so, but you can get $20 off your first purchase when you use that code Locked On NBA. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, I'm going to go to an NBA game, maybe a football game, something like that. But the possibilities are more than just sporting events. I'm talking concerts, festivals, maybe a comedy show, whatever it is. Lots going on this holiday season. Get your butt to the game by using the Game Time app. Now, here's why you want to use the Game Time app, because the features are endless. I'll start with a few of my favorites, and this is just me, but I'm a bottom line kind of guy, and that's why I love the all-in pricing feature. Now, you toggle this feature in the app, and it'll show you that total upfront cost and none of the surprise fees at checkout. Nothing worse than thinking you're getting a great deal. You go to checkout and it's not a great deal anymore because of all the surprise fees. No, turn that all-in pricing feature on in the app, and it takes the bottom line price and gives it to you. That's what it's all about, so you know how good of a deal that you're getting. Don't forget the lowest price guaranteed, because if you find a lower price, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. How about that for some peace of mind? And speaking of peace of mind, Game Time ticket coverage, that's right, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but all you have to do is create that account and redeem the code. It's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And what time is it? Well, it's game time. All right, continuing on with the Pistons postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You know where to find us on YouTube. And of course, the audio portion of today's program available on the Locked On Pistons page, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, on audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. Shout out to Koo on the Locked On Pistons podcast on the Daily Show. Very curious what he'll have to say about this one, because maybe he's not as upset as I am, but I'm sure he will be. Your comments always welcome on the program, and let's get to some of those comments before we get into what my main issue is with the Detroit Pistons. We start with Dwayne Pritchett. He said Paul Reed was our best player. JB sucks for not playing him. Duran did nothing. Jalen Duran did nothing. Sorry, I saw the typo there. But yeah, Jalen Duran did nothing. And I agree. I mean, Jalen Duran has not developed. He is not to the point where he is a valuable asset to this Detroit Pistons team. Paul Reed had more hustle. He had more energy. He was a little bit gassed at times. I think the conditioning is a factor with him, but you're not expecting to have to play him for half the game like it would have benefited the Pistons tonight. I agree. He was far and away better than Jalen Duren tonight. And that's just, again, so sad to think of. That's where we are as a Detroit Pistons team. Demetrius McNeil is up next. What? Pistons gave up 48 points in the first quarter to the lowly Utah Jazz. That's the lowest point of the season, if you ask me. Completely agree. Low point of the season. And I don't even consider it being overreactionary, because if it's so hard to invest in this team emotionally, invest your time, when the product is what we just saw tonight. You got a lot of options. You got Thursday night football tonight. Heck, you got college hoops. Right now, you got the college football playoffs. You got watching paint dry, which would have been better than tonight. And so this I know Pistons Twitter is always a thing, but it just, to me, it didn't look like a team that wanted to be out there. And if you want to say, yeah, Ron Holland really showed that dog in him. No, I just think I wholeheartedly disagree with you. It was a stupid NBA fight between him, and not even a fight. It was a little scuffle, and there's zero allure of this Detroit Pistons team, and I don't think it's getting any better. And sorry if that's too negative. Stay cold is up next. Pistons losing the next 4. Yeah, Phoenix is up next. I guess when I say I wouldn't be surprised, I'm with you. I mean, the Suns are Saturday night. That's a little bit later of a tip-off, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Then you got the Lakers, 9:30 Eastern time. 10:30 Eastern time. So even later, that's on Monday, the 23rd, and then you got the Kings. So this West Coast road trip, and then the Nuggets, forget about it. And then the Magic is the next home game. That's on the New Year, January 1st, 2025. I really don't know. And maybe that, again, that's too doom and gloom, too negative, but man, tonight, or let's do a little positive spin, I guess. Tonight is the wake up call. Maybe JB Bickerstaff is in there chewing them out, shaking some skulls, that sort of thing, and they wake up. But man, and I know the Jazz had just gotten blown out by the Clippers. Sometimes it works that way in the NBA. You need that wake up call, but my goodness, a very, very tough night. Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. I always appreciate him checking in with the yo. But all right, my biggest problem with the Detroit Pistons, the roster construction, and at the very forefront of that, I should add too, no Jaden Ivey tonight, no Isaiah Stewart. I don't know if that changes what would have transpired tonight, but certainly worth mentioning that they were not in the lineup. But Tobias Harris, in the 2-year deal that he was afforded to come to Detroit in the offseason, to me, and this, again, I take this with what it is. It's purely based on an observation of what you saw tonight, what we've seen so far this season. I don't think he's the answer. There are a lot of different plays in which you need him to make a big shot. He doesn't. You need him to make a play on defense. He doesn't. He just doesn't perform to the expectations in what he was brought in to do tonight. It might sound like I'm picking on Tobias Harris, but it's that point where you're trying to get out of the basement of the Eastern Conference, which is doable. The Eastern Conference is not tough enough. It's not like the Western Conference, and you need more contributors and more of a contribution than just Cade Cunningham. And Tobias Harris was brought in to be that guy. 3 of 13 tonight, 0 for 3 from the three-point line, minus 15. I shared that stat at one point. He was minus 19. And again, I just think the way this team is covered, and there's not a lot of coverage because they're not really that interesting, but the way you look at this team, I don't really see any other way to put it other than you need more out of Tobias Harris. And I think that's a major problem that the Detroit Pistons have for this year and next year with the 2-year deal. And maybe someone can sell me on what Tobias Harris could be at his best, or if we see a more consistent level of play. I know he's a good guy off the floor and everything like that. That is important and everything. And again, where the point of this is to provide analysis, reaction, exactly what I see. And it's nothing personal against Tobias Harris. He just needs to be better. And he wasn't tonight. And when he's not, it has a trickle-down effect. And you've got Tim Hardaway Jr. struggling, Jalen Duren struggling. Nobody really complimenting Cade Cunningham aside from Malik Beasley, albeit by attempting 26 shots, and you can hardly even call that complimenting. And Paul Reed, like, you just say it out loud, and it's like, what has happened to this team? But season's not over. 11-17 on the year. Pistons will now begin the road trip. And again, I know I was fired up to come on here because you just hated what you saw tonight. And that's how I see it, whether it be the Jordan Clarkson, Ron Holland, both getting ejected after they're squaring up. And again, I don't think a lot of people share that same opinion with me, which is fine, but the fake tough guy act doesn't do it for me. What does it for me is winning on the floor. And there wasn't enough winning plays made tonight. So that being said, we will wrap it up with studs and duds. And I think you know where I'm going with on this one. A lot more duds than studs, but don't go anywhere. We close it out next on the Locked On Pistons postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. That's all right. You got to get ready to tackle all the NFL action that's coming up. It's one of the best times of the year, and you tackle the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it's all in one place. How convenient, my friends. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's all on the same page where you place your bets, my friends. It's that simple. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Free tip, just bet against the Pistons and you'll probably win. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Studs and duds, final segment of the program. And I'll start with the stud, Cade Cunningham, the only one. And it's more of the same with him. I think he should be an all-star. Hey, now you're an all-star. All right, enough of that. 39 minutes played tonight, 33 points, 13 of 23 from the floor. Even had the gnarly dunk in the opening quarter, the only highlight of the opening quarter. You gotta love to see that from Cade. And whether it's the opposition backing off him like we saw the other night with the Heat when he had 18 assists, or tonight where he's a little bit more assertive scoring the basketball with 33 points. And don't forget, he also had 7 assists. So listen, Cade Cunningham is not the problem. He's really the only answer, the only bright spot of this team right now. Now, duds. This is going to take a while. I think I'll start with Tobias Harris just because of the long rant I went on. So no need to, beat the dead horse there. He was 3 of 13. He was minus 17, just the 8 points, just not good. And I haven't said this yet, but I had a basketball coach that he was so big on not blindly saving the ball in your own end. And that's what Tobias Harris did. And with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and it cost the Pistons. Jazz hit a 3, and the Pistons are trying to mount a comeback, and it was just a stupid play. So that was the cherry on top for me. And I know, he was hustling. No, he was saving the ball in his own end blindly, and it leads to an easy 3 for the Jazz. Other dud, I'm going to go Ron Holland because he gets ejected, and really, 4 points. Before he got ejected, he was +6, but this Pistons team has to lead the world in stupid, wannabe, fake fight, tough guy stuff that just never, I don't know. Or it's just the bad boys could get away with it because they were good. It's crazy. You have to be good with that. The going to work Pistons, Rasheed, Ben Wallace, they were badasses. They were tough and they won. It doesn't mean anything if you're losing to the 5-20 Utah Jazz. I'll also throw in Tim Hardaway Jr. as a dud, minus 20. My goodness. And probably the ultimate dud of all of them, Jalen Duren, minus 26. So, geez, just brutal. I got to end this because any way you dissect this, it's depressing. It's as sad as you get. Let's talk about something more uplifting, more exciting, and that is Locked On Sports Detroit, because we bring you the post-game analysis. And don't forget, with the Locked On Pistons postcast, that your favorite podcast now is a newsletter. We're introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. How about that, my friends? The other thing you want to get, how about this? The Detroit Lions are in action on Sunday, so we'll have a post-game show trying to regroup after that loss. We'll have our last Locked On Michigan Wolverines football postcast after their bowl game against Alabama, and some really great college football on this weekend. Our next Pistons postcast Saturday night, late night, if you want to stay up late after the Pistons take on the Phoenix Suns. But rinse this one down the drain and try to forget it, because it was ugly. The Pistons fall to the Utah Jazz 126-119. Detroit now 11-17 on the season. And up next, it's the West Coast road trip, beginning with a game on Saturday against the Phoenix Suns. So thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. Shout out to the everydayers. Appreciate you. Appreciate Demetrius McNeil always checking in, Daniel Berry highlights, and everybody else that make the Pistons postcast, or Locked On Sports Detroit in general, your post-game destination. So drop us a like. Make sure you subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. And we'll see you next time on Locked On Sports Detroit. Have a great night.